to the Big Life NYC podcast. I'm Roderick Angle, your host. In this podcast, I talk to longtime New York City residents about their strategies that they've developed for having a great life in one of the toughest cities in the world. Today, my guest is Billy Leroy. Billy is an antiques dealer. He is the owner and proprietor of Billy's Antiques, currently based in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. He's also been on several reality shows. He was on the Travel Channel's
Baggage Battles
for many, many years.
Yep.
And then more recently, from Discovery, a show called Billy Buys Brooklyn.
Right, and it's on HBO Max now.
It's currently streaming on HBO Max, so you can watch that right now. So welcome to the podcast.
Thanks
for
this
coming.
Is great.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Cool.
very cool.
Professional, right?
It's perfect. It's great. It's almost like doing a TV show.
Good. So, so we're talking to longtime New Yorkers, and you qualify for that category. You've lived in New York City since you were 2 years old. Is that correct?
2 years old. Yep. Gramercy Park.
So you grew up in Gramercy Park.
Yeah, it was. You know the building with the knights, the two knights, the statues of the knights. It's like.
Yeah.
I grew up in there.
On the park.
On the park. We had a key to the park.
Yeah.
It's actually the first place I got punched in the face by a kid inside the park. I'll never forget it.
Yeah. How old was that?
I was about 6.
6.
It was a New York wake-up call.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It shocked me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let him play with one of my toys or whatever, and he'd go, boing.
Yeah. You learned to share after that, maybe.
Yes, it was nicer.
And where did you go to school?
I went to I went to a grammar school around Gramercy Park. I forget the name.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget. My mom was crossing the street with me. I was a little kid, and the principal came running up to us saying, "The president's been shot." And I totally remember that when Kennedy was shot.
Wow.
I was like, it's burned into my memory. It was it was a big deal, obviously.
Obviously, yeah.
But then we moved to the Upper East Side on 87th Street, 55 East 87th Street, and went to PS6.
Okay. And that was more like middle school, like
up until 6th grade, I think. Yeah, it was until. But I was like a problem child, so my mother then sent me to boarding school in Switzerland.
Okay.
But we still lived in New York. I would come back, and that was like going to. It was tough. Because it was very strict, kind of like Germanic school. It was really nuts. And but ultimately,
the boarding school?
Huh?
The boarding school.
Yeah, it was the
strict.
Swiss. Oh God, yeah, it was really. But ultimately, it was great because I learned how to ski, and they kind of it was good. It was I have good memories of Switzerland.
Right.
Then I came back to the U.S. and I went to prep school in Massachusetts. I went to a pre-prep school called Rumsey Hall, and then to a prep school called Williston Academy, then college and so on.
Yeah.
But always in New York.
Always in New York.
Yeah.
And so what was the experience of kind of coming of age in New York City in the 70s? What was that like? I mean, you were on the Upper East Side for the most of it, right?
Yeah. Well, you had, it was like not tribal. I was maybe too young to say tribal, but it was like we were kids from the Upper East Side, street urchins. Okay.
Right.
We'd love to go out and play. And around the corner from us was John Kennedy, and he was the exact same age as us. And we'd play touch football in the park. And another kid that was famous, Robert Redford's son, Jamie Redford.
Okay.
And we were just like, we'd be kids. We were all equal at that time,
right?
Because it was actually how good of an athlete you were, or, how kind of street smart you were. It was a real New York upbringing.
Right. Yeah, but you're definitely rubbing shoulders with.
These kids,
different classes.
Yeah,
say.
No, it was. I would say my mother was middle class, upper middle class, because she was a copywriter in an advertising agency.
Okay.
BBD&O, I think it was. Yeah, BBD&O, and she. So we weren't the rich kids, but the kids that were rich were the super rich. You know, like one of actually a real estate kid who was. We used to torture him. Not torture. I mean torture like.
How kids torture.
Actually, I don't know if it's we were kids, okay? Torture, the way kids torture. His name was Benjamin Duell.
Okay.
And his father was a huge real estate mogul. And that apartment was off Park Avenue, right next to John Kennedy's place, and it was unbelievable. I mean, he was, it was just, you did rub shoulders with, but we're all, like I said, we're all equal in the street as kids.
Right. Right. Cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
So then, I mean, when I first got to know you is when you had Billy's Antiques on Houston and Bowery, basically. Right. And that was, how long was that location there? Was you
30 years.
30 years.
Not as Billy's. I only owned it for 10 years.
Okay.
But the last 10 years. But before that, it was owned by a guy named Rob Fennick, and it was called Lot 76. But I worked for him. I was his manager. Then he passed away, and I became the owner of Billy's Antiques.
Yeah, because that was a real icon of New York City street life.
It was crazy.
For me, Billy's Antiques on Houston between Broadway and Lafayette, basically. I mean, it was. And it was
no. It was between Houston. I'm sorry, between Bowery and Elizabeth.
Bowery and Elizabeth.
Right,
That's right.
Right.
So
Bowery
the block down.
Yeah.
So the block down. But there was no building. It was just basically an open lot.
It was a tent.
It was a tent.
It was the only tent.
It was a tent full of antiques and you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and you had a lot longer hair then, kind of more of like biker style.
Yeah, it was a lot different.
Yeah.
It was the only tent in existence as a rentable place in Manhattan.
Wow.
And I knew it at the time. I knew how special it was because the location was gold. I mean, it was insane.
It was insane. I mean, the street traffic was crazy there.
Yeah, it was crazy. And we had no electricity. I had to get the electricity from Parisi's Bakery from an extension cord. I pay him $200 a month or whatever. There were rats the size of footballs. I had a guy sleeping in the tent up in the rafters because there were rats on the floor. And it was
like a homeless guy or somebody?
No, guy, rough, kind of his name was Peter. And no, he wasn't homeless. He definitely wasn't. He was just he liked to sleep up there. He was so attached to the store. Okay. And it was cool. Tony Goldman was my landlord. Okay. And he was another big time landlord that I brushed shoulders with.
Yeah. So then, what was the transition between kind of having the store there, and at some point the store went away, and then Baggage Battles? How did that happen? How did you end up on Baggage Battles?
Well, the thing is, I started to I was interested in acting and TV and all this stuff, and I was doing bit parts. And as a matter of fact, I did a movie with the store, and it was Amy Redford was the director. Okay. And the reason I got the part, I'm almost convinced, she wanted to use my store. And I said, listen, if you're going to use the store, I won't charge you, but I have to be the antique dealer. I don't want some actor as me or as an antique dealer. And I said, and I knew your brother.
Okay.
Your older brother. And she was...
From the Upper East Side playing football.
As kids, 10-year-old kids. Yeah. And that really broke the ice with her. Yeah. And we did the film. It's called The Guitar with Saffron Burrows and Paz de la Huerta and someone else. And it wasn't low budget. It was high budget. Yeah. It was they paid me, and it was great. So that started off a whole thing of interests in TV, and so then I did an episode of American Pickers, which was called Banner Pick, and that got me. That whet my appetite. I was like. And that led, what's so amazing is my whole TV career is due to American Pickers, to Mike Wolf, the main guy. Uh-huh. He asked if he could do, that I could appraise something. I said, sure. I said, I don't work for free. He said, we'll give you $1,000. And it was his second season. It just started, 2010. And so we did the episode. I had an eye patch because I had scratched my cornea. So I was wearing an eye patch throughout the whole thing. Perfect. And I asked him, I said, listen, do you want me to take off? It's almost healed. I'll take it off. They go, no, it's great. It's great. So now if you Google Billy Leroy and eye patch, there's this big controversy. Why is he wearing an eye patch on Pickers?
Was he faking it?
Yes, he fits all the bullshittery, they called it. And I respond to all these. Because people don't expect you to respond. I always respond. And it was truly, I did hurt my eye, but I knew it looked cool. And, and the producer was like, yeah, that's different. So we did that, and that's the reason, because of that show. I did that show. My store closed in 2012. We had you came to the party, right?
I didn't, no.
Oh, you didn't? We had
I'm not sure. Maybe I was there.
We had a huge party. It was insane. It was... we burnt the place down almost literally. I mean, it was so... we really went for it because it was over. It was completely over.
They're going to tear it down, and they built a building.
Yeah, they built a building, but that was, a few years. So that ended in 2012. But all of a sudden, I get a call from a producer saying, I saw you late at night on American Pickers as the appraiser. Would you be interested in coming to an audition on a new show about baggage at airports, lost luggage at airports? And I said, sure. Why not? Yeah, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I auditioned in California, and I got the part. So it's directly due to that casting agent seeing American Pickers, and that got me the part.
And it seems also like good timing, and you were open to it.
Yeah, well, I would have done it anyway. Even if I still had this store, because I'd been trying to push a antique reality show way before Pickers, Pawn Stars, all of those. I have a show in 2004. I have the reel of pushing a New York type show, and it didn't fly. They said it was too New York, and it didn't fly. But it's great when you look at it. You're saying it was a great idea, but a good idea before its time is a bad idea. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what did that mean? It's too New York. It was too gritty.
I had too many homeless guys, too much swearing. It's just like really, because the beginning of reality, the reality shows, it's really kind of like, it's not, even if you look at Baggage Battles, it feels really dated now.
Yeah.
People really liked it. We did 5 seasons.
Yeah.
But I think the direction that reality shows are going in is to keep it as real as possible. It's
right.
But as soon as you set up cameras, and people start acting different, and getting weird, and looking at the camera.
Well, you have people still have to hit a mark, and focus has to be pulled, and all that stuff. So it can't really be real. Yeah.
No, and you can't. You're hiring all these people. You can't just wait in the store for a good item to come in.
Right. You have to plan all of that.
But what's interesting is on Storage Wars, one of the guys.
Was that something you were involved in?
No, I auditioned, but I didn't get it.
But it's a similar show to Baggage Battles.
Yes, Storage Wars. Yeah, you buy storage units.
Right.
But a guy named Dave Hester, he denounced the show early, like 2010 or something. He said, it's completely fake. Everything is planted, and he proved it, and he got fired for doing that. It was a big secret, and Guess what? The show's ratings went up after he went.
Just like wrestling.
Yeah, right. They just like the because it's all about the characters, liking that person.
Yeah.
So and the object is secondary. But now I think it's more like people really want to know the history of the object, not so much like gimmicky. You can't be gimmicky. Yeah. You have to be real.
Yeah. So I guess that kind of brings us to Billy Buys Brooklyn, because I've been watching it. Lately, it's great. It's such a great show.
Thanks.
Really good. And it reminds me of, it has a Pawn Stars type of premise to it. Yeah. And I've always liked Pawn Stars, but it's way better than Pawn Stars.
They don't go down the history. They don't do so much the history of the piece.
Well, and plus it's and then it's Brooklyn. So the people that come in, are very real Brooklyn type of characters. They're not like the stereotypical
American.
Yeah, they're typical Brooklyn.
Right.
So
it just makes it New York.
Yeah, it's really New York. So it makes it really interesting. So how did that come about? Was that something? Did you write it, or
no?
Who came up with Billy Buys Brooklyn?
I wish I had, because I'd be a lot richer than I am.
Right.
But producer, his name's Michael Uden. He approached me and he goes, "Listen, if you buy a building or if you get a store, I can guarantee you I can sell a show of you selling stuff inside the shop."
Right.
So I bought a building in Greenpoint without having the show. So
was buying the building and getting the show kind of
very important, because they had pitched all kinds of shows with me, because it's about the network liking the premise of the show.
Right.
So we had pitched all kinds of good ideas, but they didn't stick. So he really believed if I had a space, we could do a New York kind of show. And I said, well, okay, so I'm going to buy the building. I'm not going to get the show, and I'm going to owe all this money, right? Because nothing ever pans out.
Right, because there's no guarantee.
No guarantee.
Yeah.
But so we bought the small building right before COVID.
Right. And I remember when you bought that building.
Yeah. And it was a building that sat empty.
Right.
And now, of course, everybody's like, I would have bought it. Oh, yeah. Because there was all kinds of...
But you didn't.
Yeah, but you didn't. And there's all these big, huge rentals that are going up
all
around me.
Greenpoint's exploding.
Yeah, it's exploding. And this was right before COVID. So we did it. He told the network, he's got a shop, da-da-da. And we did 20 episodes of Billy Buys Brooklyn, 20 half-hour episodes for British UK Discovery Plus. It wasn't for HBO Max.
Right.
HBO Max bought Discovery Plus.
Right.
And right when we were about to get renewed for a second season, HBO Max bought Discovery Plus, and all the people that had commissioned the show, all the big wigs, were all gone. So now we had new big wigs, and it's like it hasn't been canceled, but it's like reselling the show, and it's really, who knows what's going to happen.
Right. So it's kind of in limbo right now with the future of the show.
It's in limbo, but I have other shows. I got other things brewing. I'm constantly pitching because as long as I could still do this,
right.
Got a good run in me. Yeah. And the great thing about getting older in my position, which is great as an antique appraiser expert, is young guys don't come off as credible.
Right.
As an expert. They just don't. They might know everything.
Right.
But you look at him and you're like, he's a young jerk off.
Yeah,
he doesn't know anything.
Yeah, what does he know?
Yeah, what does he know? He might know, but it just isn't. It's like, you know how it is when I look at videos.
Well, it's the same thing as a real estate agent. Honestly.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
Really.
Right, but there are jobs where, as you get older, like when I was a junior art director in an advertising agency,
you age out of that.
You age out.
Yeah,
exactly. Not with so
antique dealer. You age in.
The older and more you do actually learn, because I learn something new every day. I mean, there's so much stuff out there. You can't possibly be an expert in everything.
So what's your in terms of like the antiques world? What is your area of specialty?
I know a lot about a lot of things because I had Billy's Antiques, and I called myself a generalist. I kind of knew what something's worth, like those antique microphones over there. I kind of know what they're worth.
Yeah, sure.
You got to know what something's worth.
A general familiarity with the market.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's just pure experience. But what I specialize in, it's called militaria, which is swords, helmets. That's antiques from all wars.
All wars.
Yeah. Okay. And from Napoleonic Wars up until World War II.
Right. Cool.
So, I mean, it's,
Was that always an interest, or you developed
it? It was always an interest, except... Yeah, I guess I watched too many war movies as a kid. I don't know. So I like World War I aviation. I like Napoleonic. I like Franco-Prussian War stuff. I like World War II, but I like American stuff, like paratrooper stuff, like Band of Brothers and all that stuff. I like that.
Yeah.
The German stuff, as long as it's real, is fair game. But there's a lot of reproductions of it.
Right.
And the collectors can be a little strange,
yeah.
But you got to meet all kinds of people.
Yeah, and that's really what was the most interesting thing about Billy Buys Brooklyn to me was all the different people that come through the door and the objects that they have and the story that goes along with that.
And did you see?
And you're a great host.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. I try to be talk, because it's hard to, when they reshoot. They said, okay, you said this, but you forgot to mention that, and the producer's like, you got to redo it. And it is regurgitating stuff, so it is kind of acting to a degree, because you have to re-say something and make it look real. Yeah. And but my big claim to fame on Billy Buys Brooklyn is I'm the only antique reality show that had a real Hell's Angel on. Did you see that episode?
I didn't. No.
It's one of the last ones.
But you have kind of a past with the Hell's Angels.
Well, I like the Harleys, and I know them, and they're great guys.
Yeah.
But actually, that's why they did an appraisal of a Hell's Angel ring in the show.
I have to see that one. What season is that?
No, well, it's only one season.
Oh, it's only one season.
It's towards the end. And I had a Hell's Angel ring that I found at the flea market, and it was a fake. So I showed it to them, and they said, do a public service message, why people shouldn't buy fake Hell's Angel stuff and wear it.
Right.
So they because they have to vote 100% for a guy to come on with the patch and tell you about this. It's a group thing. And
so the club had to vote to approve.
Oh my God, yeah, because he's wearing the jacket.
Right.
It's and his name was Butch, and. great guy, and he looked at it. He goes, "It's a fake." He goes, "I'm going to have to take this." I go, "Yeah, go right
No
ahead."
problem.
He goes,
I won't argue. Yeah.
To his credit, he goes, "What'd you pay for it?" And I said, "Oh, $20." He goes, "Here." And I said, No, it's a donation."
Yeah.
And they're I mean, because I was on Bowery and Houston Street, and the Hells Angels were on 3rd Street.
Right.
They were always riding by, and
I remember that clubhouse there. It was the safest block in the East Village.
yeah. In 1999, I was what you call a hang-around with the Hells Angels.
Right. What does that mean?
It's like like when you want to become a member, it's the first level of becoming a Hells Angel. But it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I bailed. Mostly because of financial and my daughter. It's a wild lifestyle. I mean, you got to. It's 100% dedication, and but they're great. I had nothing bad to say.
Yeah.
And they said, "What, did you kill somebody?" I said, "I didn't do one illegal thing when I was with them."
Yeah.
It was more like being a buck private in the Army,
Right.
watching the bikes for hours.
Right.
You know, when you walk by, there'd be guys sitting there,
Of course, yeah.
just watching the bikes for hours. And
I remember being in college and going to a party on 3rd Street and walking out, and I saw Quentin Crisp walking down the street with a big buff guy on each arm, walking right in front of the line of motorcycles in front of the Hells Angels chapter.
Yep,
and
Quentin
I was like,
Crisp.
I love New York City. That to me
He was
like,
amazing.
He was amazing.
I was sitting on the bench, and I remember him. He walked right on the side of the Hells Angels, and it was Quentin Crisp.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he had his blue hair. And
blue hair.
He was just such a character.
Yeah.
And it was just cool.
I want to get, because we are, a real estate brokerage, and I'm interested in real estate. I want to get a little bit of the story of how you found the building in Greenpoint. What was the story there? How did you come across that building, and how'd you buy it? Did you use a broker, or what'd you do?
No. What happened was it was like we were destined for it, because my wife and I watched the prices. We got there in 1999. We saw 2-family houses go from 350,000, 400,000 to millions.
Right.
Just what? In 2008, when there was the crash, I was like, all right, it's our opportunity. We'll be able to buy a 2-family.
Yeah.
No way.
Right.
And then when I had someone interested, they would, someone maybe be a partner with me on it. It's too ethnic. It's too Polish. It'll never be good, Yeah. And they're always really negative about it. But meanwhile, the prices just keep going up. So in 2019, Lorraine, my wife, saw this empty corner store with one apartment, one family building with a little store in a pizza shape. It's shaped like a slice of pizza.
Yeah.
With
one of those really tight corners. Yeah.
Yeah, right. It feels like you're in a ship when you're in it, because it goes around.
It's a flat iron. It's a flat iron building.
It is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's small. Okay. Yeah. But the basement was completely finished with a jacuzzi in it.
Okay. Interesting.
Because I found out later, the original owner would rent out illegally, and he lived in the basement. Anyway, so he had done it kind of nice. And there was a store, there was a bicycle shop, and then there was an apartment. And I was able to look back in the tax photos of the place, and in 1940, it was like a gangster candy shop. I have a picture of it.
Wow.
It was great.
Yeah.
And so it was empty. And
was it on the market?
It was on the market. No one wanted it. They wanted, I'll tell you exactly, they wanted like $1.3 million for it, which was, it's not a big place. It was a lot of money.
Yeah. Especially in, what do we talk, we say 2009?
19.
What? Oh.
2019.
2019, okay.
So the reason it was so expensive is the owner that I got it from, he had bought it on speculation because Amazon was opening up next to us in Long Island City.
I remember this, of course.
So he...
I had just started as an agent in Long Island City at the time.
So you remember
how... really excited.
People were excited.
Yeah.
They bought it on spec. He overpaid for the place.
Right.
He didn't want to put a renter in because he just wanted to keep it nice and, empty so he could sell it. And I offered him cash.
Right.
I made
was that after
bag of cash deal.
Was that after Amazon?
Oh yeah, sorry. So Amazon backed out.
out.
He freaked out. He didn't want to rent
because of all the backlash, political backlash. Yeah.
Exactly, and there was.
And then you came and offered him cash.
I offered him cash, and
That's great.
I had to beg, borrow, and steal to get. It was like an Italian dude. He was like really. It was really an old school deal,
Yeah.
which didn't exist, and that's like doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And it existed for us, and so then I got it, and then thank God I got the show because he gave me a mortgage owner finance mortgage.
Okay.
Because I couldn't get a mortgage, I eventually did get a mortgage because I had the TV show, so I could, show that I was going to make. I guess for banks, it was good that I had a TV show, and it's just great. I mean, it's a small place. It is small. I wish it was a little bit bigger, but what are you going to do? Beggars can't be choosers.
I mean, but you have your store downstairs, and you live upstairs, and you kind of have your whole world.
Yeah, and I could put my Harley. I have a tiny little garden. I could put my Harley in it.
Nice.
And I've been offered $1.4 million for it already.
That's great. It's awesome.
And I've paid off a lot of it. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, we can't. Even if I was to get $1.4 million for it, what am I going to buy? 1 bedroom in Greenpoint? They're $1 million now.
Yeah, I know.
It's so expensive. You have to move out of the city.
Yeah. And
then you might as well shoot yourself.
Exactly. Well said. And you like Greenpoint? You like the neighborhood there?
Oh, I love Greenpoint.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, the Polish are fantastic. The hipsters that are moving in, I mean, they're paying a lot of money for these places. It's like nuts.
Yeah.
The hipsters, it's just like the Lower East Side. You got the hipsters, with the baby carriages, and it's the guys with the golf clubs, and it's like wherever I go, the hipsters follow.
Yeah, good new coffee shops and restaurants come with them, so that's nice.
No, it's great. Well, most important is the real estate. Your investment goes up.
Right.
And that's what's really.
Well, it seems like you got in at the right time and did really well.
I kind of lucked out because they were still $2 and $3 million for single families.
Yeah.
In 2019, if you look at the prices, it was really high. Now it's even higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So when you look back, is there one moment that you can kind of identify as like the moment for you in your life, or like the like a turning point?
A turning point in my life?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Easy. When I got that store on Houston Street. That was the big, because before that I was just a runner. I'd buy something, run it, which is that's what I'm doing now, actually.
Yeah.
But I have the knowledge and the connections, but I didn't when I was young.
Yeah.
And I'd have to run from one dealer to the other to try to make a few shekels. It's like it was hard.
Yeah.
And so then I worked for the previous owner, and he passed away. And Tony Goldman said, I'm interested in renting, and I made a deal with him.
Right.
Do you remember Tony Goldman?
No.
Goldman Properties down in Soho. He was big deal. He was
probably a little before my time.
Well, you remember the Keith Haring Wall, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that was part of my property.
Right.
And I approached Tony. I said, let's recreate the Keith Haring and make a coffee shop with this. I gave him that idea.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, sure. How much money do you have to invest? And I said, nothing. He goes, you're out. So then he recreated it with Jeffrey Deitch. So but they thanked me in the brochure. They said, thanks to Billy Santigs, whatever. But I came up with the idea of recreating the Keith Haring. Yeah. And that's why.
So having the store there was really kind of your transition from a worker to an owner. Business owner,
right? And business owner. I was, but it was, it was really nuts.
That's loose. Yeah.
It was loose. We only dealt in cash. All the guys that worked for me all partied their money away.
Yeah.
It was there was 2 deaths in the store. There was a stabbing in the store. That's the grisly stuff.
Yeah. You're making it too New York.
Yeah, but it was crazy. It was very, very scary. It was the Bowery, and there was still the Bowery Mission.
Yeah.
Homeless guy would come. He goes, here, you want to buy this? And it's broken, and you're in a bad mood. You haven't made any sales. You're like, no, I don't want that junk. You say the word junk. He goes, what, my stuff's junk? And then he flips out on you. Yeah. And then everything goes
Yeah.
sideways. And that would so you learn how to be diplomatic.
You learn
Yeah.
how to.
You got to dance around.
You got some street smarts.
Yes, you have to
Yeah.
be very smart that way.
Well, I'm glad it worked out so well for you over the years, and you're able to sit here and.
No, this is
know,
great. I love this show. This is great. This place.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So I can't wait to see what's next for you. The next, whether it's Billy Buys Brooklyn coming back or the next show you have. I'm excited to see.
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny because it's like 4-year difference between shows.
Yeah.
And you know, hopefully there will be another show.
So we get to see an evolution.
Yeah, because the thing is, if I never have another show, at least I got a building out of the deal.
Sounds great.
You know, New York, the most important thing in New York, I really believe this, is you've got to buy something.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, well, unless you have a rent-controlled apartment or something like that, that's different. But if you have to buy, and you have to stick it out because it'll always be worth more money, you know? I remember brownstones on the Upper East Side when I was growing up. You asked me in the 70s, it was like Taxi Driver, you know? It was like really gritty. Brownstones on the Upper East Side were $150,000.
It's insane.
In 1974, when they had that financial crash, Ed Koch's mayorship. It's crazy.
Words to live by. Thanks so much, Billy. I really appreciate you coming. It's great to talk to you, as always.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you.